Teat or Thayer and those guys. Josh Myers, I believe he started a lot of games this year. He don't play the first 2 years. It takes a couple years. Paris has already played a lot in year 2, but it's inside. So he's got some experience, but now it's different stresses. So I just think you go through spring. I know Justin will do a great job with him, but we'll need a consistent player out there in between he, DeJuan, or Zen, or even Donovan Jackson. If he needs, the most consistent player will probably be at left tackle. And right now, he's starting there with the opportunity to prove he's going to be that guy. You would expect him to. Ball's in his court.
How much competition across that unit
do you see? I thought Josh Fryer would be in the mix, and he's limited. So I kind of felt he was, kind of time to get in there. And I think Zen's come along nicely. Jacob James has had an outstanding offseason, gives some good depth inside. But there's probably a little bit separation from the 5 based on experience and talent. But again, to big side in the weight room or in the training room, durability versus ability. If they can be here every day, practice every day, get better every day, they'll have chances to be our main guys. Time's going to tell.
Well, middle aisle, Justin Holbrook, WCMH.
Jim talked about how much the offense is going to make his defense better. I wonder.
That's just a defensive coach in spring ball. He's trying to butter us up for Mars practice. I'm not buying it.
I'll give you a chance to do the same. What can you learn from him and his defense and his experience?
Well, it's interesting because we don't. Sometimes I think you can get real anal as a coach specifically. Okay, what's going in? Through time, and it really started with Coach Berger's background with Coach Stoops. If you put a play in, you better be able to block zero. When they blitz everybody, bare front. You better be able to throw it if they drop 8. Play cover 3, cover 2, cover 1, whatever. So if you put a play in, you better have your answers versus say, well, I want it in just against this look. No one plays the same looks. No one plays static football, standing still. So, we were saying the first couple of days, here we want to do some walkthrough, and we really didn't know what they were doing. So we're watching Oklahoma State cut-ups like, okay, what do they play to this formation? What does it look like? What's their alignment? And as we go, I guess we'll get a better feel, but it appears early that it's, just a lot of multiple looks which I think is what really great defenses do. They have the ability to be gap sound, stop the run, but they make the offensive line and quarterback work every play. So there's a lot of movement, but there's still gap sound. There's a lot of alignments, but the coverage picture changes. So the quarterback thinks he's got one coverage, ball is snapped, here comes people moving at him, and the coverage is changing, and your ability to think on your feet. And so it appears there's going to be a lot of, quote, moving parts. I know he would say they got to make sure they stay sound as they do that. But for me as an offensive coach, we get attacked very aggressively on Saturday from defensive teams, multiple coverages and schemes and fronts and movements and twists and blitzes. So I think the more stuff you see, you get immune to it. The more you stress the offensive line, the more you stress the quarterback in practice, the better Paris and those guys will become, and the better CJ and Kyle and Devin will become. So I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it's got a chance to, he's got a lot of tools in the toolbox, it looks like.
Over here to the right, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
More moving parts, better teaching, better right and left. What's your definition? What makes a good teacher?
I would have said 15 years ago, the ability to keep it simple, to understand. I always felt in my world I wasn't that good a player, so I kind of knew some things I had to do to give me a chance. And I knew I think I heard Marshall Falk a few years ago when a guy ran some 4.2 something at the combine and say, well, the best way to slow a guy down is make him think. So I think a great coach can give coaching points, but allow his players to, in time, understand it where they're not thinking. I tell my players should tell you that if they're thinking, they don't know. The thought is they know what they're doing. They know it's this route at this depth, or it's this block, or it's this call. If they're thinking about it, they don't know. So I would have told you a long time ago, to be a great teacher, it's your ability to keep it simple, to give your kids a chance to play as hard as they can play, as fast as they can play, be sound. Not so simple, it's vanilla and easy for the defensive coaches to defend. I would tell you now, too, it's going to, you better have the ability to connect. And, for example, like I explained the other day, we call it pass play that's called naked when the quarterback's by himself. I go, why do we call this naked? something answer like and I was just trying to help them understand why it's called this, because I thought it would help them, because I think we're in a generation where kids want to know why we're doing things, or why do you call it that way, or why are we doing this drill? Why do we run? You guys watch us in warm up and everybody's got a ball. Why do we have a ball? Well, we're doing it so when you run, you're not running with the ball loose. We're trying to cheat a little bit and get ball security while we're stretching. And so I think one of the abilities now to be a great teacher is your ability to connect with kids and invest time with them. So the ability to keep it stupid or simple, multiple looks, but they'll keep it simple, stupid motto, KISS, keep it simple. But also the ability to connect and get people to run. I think if our players believe we're getting them better and you're spending time with them, you can push them. But if they don't believe in you, they don't think you're getting better, it's hard to coach a young man.
Right next door, Doug Lamerise, Cleveland.com.
Kevin, the experience C.J. Stroud got last year, obviously he's going to be a much more experienced quarterback this year. Just, I know it's the first day of spring practice, but what are you even thinking about with a guy like C.J. as he prepares to be a year 2 starter?
I think, again, we can, so much of our game's been done from the sideline. We're making calls. I think can be more on his plate where he can handle the ability to adjust plays and protections, where sometimes we would do that so the player could just keep his eyes on the defense. Sometimes, again, the more we make him think, the more we, then it's just hard to take the right drop, throw the ball in time, because I'm thinking about all these checks I got to make. But he can handle a lot mentally. He is extremely gifted and talented, but he's just equally as smart and equally aware on the field. His ability to see and put it all together is uniquely high. So I think we can just put a little bit more on his plate. I think Ryan's got a phenomenal amount of confidence in his ability to trust him to get protections right and get the ball out to the right guys and not force it. I was thinking, though, as a veteran player like him's got 1 year under his belt, 13 games. And Jackson, our veteran players are third-year guys. Mitch Rossi's back in his 6th year, and I think Matt Jones is a 5th year, but it's like if you're a four-year guy now, you seem like your grandfather around here. It's like our veterans are second-year starters. And that being said, to me it's exciting about maybe how good CJ could be, because you'd like to think here's a guy that started high, but you like to think there's a lot more in that ceiling. And I think as he goes with Coach Day this year and Coach Dennis, it'll be interesting, Coach Fitch, how far we can push he and some of our, because I think our most gifted, talented players, a lot of them are very, very, DeJuan got 1 year of football starts. Paris, 1 year of football start. Luke Whippler, 1 year. All of them going to be outstanding players. But where can we go as year 2, year 3 veterans and make another big jump and maybe do the things that the truly great teams start to become?
Over to the far left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Kevin, what stood out to you about Donovan Jackson over the last year? What makes you think he's ready to kind of step up?
Well, when he showed up, I didn't cut you. He was about as athletic as most I had personally seen with an offensive line. He's not maybe 6'6", but I had a guy who plays for the Niners named Trent Williams. I'd tell you he's probably the best player I've ever been around. He still is like that. He's ridiculously. Donovan's not there, but he's got some skills that are like, wow, like that's not an O-line skill. That's an athletic skill. He showed up with skill. He showed up with a lot of maturity. Like, he doesn't practice like a first-year guy. He doesn't practice like a guy just got here out of high school. He's not practicing now in spring like this is my first spring. He's a very mature kid, very, very smart, like we're talking CJ. He's got a high cognitive ceiling, but he's got a high skill set. And he's got some developing to do, but he is as talented, as gifted, with as high a ceiling as anybody walking down on this field today. He's got a chance to be a real player.
Did you guys last year, as you worked in Matt Jones some, and I know Thayer had some injury stuff, and maybe just felt like we were looking for a little something at guard. Did you ever consider putting Donovan in there last year, or was he not ready for that yet?
I think at the time, Coach Dover said probably a little bit more confidence with Matt and the older guys, although he practiced there. And that's why we went to the few snaps. We did the big package in short yardage. He played tight end. We were trying to get him on the field some. And I think, probably just green enough. He didn't get spring ball, but he was good enough to get in the mix. And at the same time, those guys probably a little bit more time on task, probably a little more trust in those guys. But I don't think I would have not have had, we got to play Donovan now. Don't run this player, run this protection. To me, I wouldn't have blinked if he was in the game and would just play, no matter who we were playing, when we were playing. I thought he probably would have played at a high level. And I expect him as a first-year potential starter right now to be a guy that plays at a very high level. He is a very gifted, talented player, and not just physically. He's got some stuff in his heart, and he's got a chance to be a special player.
Right next door, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Kevin, as you and Ryan and y'all went into this spring and stuff, what is it you definitely want to address with this offense moving forward? What is a shortcoming y'all had last year that you want fixed? I mean, what is sort of the goal in that regard?
I think we got some young receivers that got to make, we played at high level, so just because they've finished the season well, that we continue that, because that's been big. But I think the consistency of our running game and our ability with the tight ends to complement that position. We're losing Jeremy, so we're going to be we're a little bit greener there. If you don't, I see some guys, not that these services have it, statted out route, but I think a lot of people have Jeremy rated as the top, 3, 4, 5 tight end in the draft. You guys say he doesn't catch the ball, watch him play the whole game. He's because when he's not there, you got to throw too much, or the quarterback's got to run. When we've had he and Luke and those guys here, so I think the tight end position, helping that line balance the run game, that we can stay on schedule with just more nickel 5 and 6 and 7 yard plays, and those are hard. You start out the game, the box is loaded, you run for 2 and 3, and sometimes maybe we can get a little impatient. If we're going to be the best offense in the country, that means we win the games. And when you don't win the games, you can take those stats and say, look at your stats, your offense is really good. But when you come up short a couple times, you're not that good. And we need to be good enough so we're talking about being an offense that takes care of the ball, that has the toughness and physicalness that it needs, the ability to make the big play, but the ability to punch it in and drive down the field to be an elite offense. Right now, we're a good stat offense. But to be an elite offense, we got to be a little bit more consistent, a little bit more better pad level, a little bit more running through trash at running back, tight ends playing stronger. We can be better, and that's going to be our goal as we build through spring and the summer preseason. Yeah. Not that we're going to load it up, because you got maybe the best quarterback going. You got a couple dudes out there that really can make some plays. But when you can put the physical presence with all that, you got a chance to be something neat.
Is there any kind of scheme adjustment though too? Because you talked late in the year last year about against a couple of the better defenses, y'all had trouble getting aggressively up the field in a blocking situation in the run game and stuff. Is there any adjustments going on in that regard, or just tweaks?
I think I'd say more tweaks, and I think trying to in time figure out what tweaks best fit this group. So you can sit here and complain about a tight end not being able to make a certain block, or a guard or a tackle make a certain block, but sometimes it's in relation to the phase of the play. So if you're asking a guy on a matchup to hold a block for 3 seconds, and time is against him, and he's not dominant enough to make that block, well, he's going to have a hard time against critical defenses. So how do you execute that play with the phase of the play, the tweak of the play, the spacing of the play, the timing of the play, that those guys can make the blocks, versus complaining, hey, you can't do it. It's our job as coaches to try to put them in better positions, try to help them identify and target guys better, and then at the end of the day, just be good enough to line up and play the game physically the way great teams play.
Right next door, Clay Hall, WSYX.
With the attention that Smith and Jigba's going to get, who's the biggest beneficiary maybe of defenses, looking at him or doubling him or whatever?
Yeah.
Can you see that already happening?
Well, not from practice, but you can visualize. At the same time, if you're running the ball well and you're taking 2 guys to cover 1, you got a chance to have some issues of now as the running game out-gapped. So if you've ID'd it right, if you got 2 guys guarding 1, well, that's basically the guy that's supposed to be guarding the quarterback that they never guard. So now we're back to even numbers. So if we can get in situations that you're getting brackets and one guy's taking 2, now from a blocking deal, there's not an extra guy, quote, in the box. How can there be an extra guy in the box? When the extra guy's in the box, they're playing him one-on-one. So you 2 guys are playing me. Well, instead of you playing the run and you playing me, when you guys are both guarding me, there's not an extra guy in the running game. So that, again, in some sense, of the running game will be a beneficiary, let alone the other targets per se. And then, end of the day, Coach Day and Coach Hart will do everything we can to figure out a way, because that dude's got a way of getting open too. So
Right.
we'll keep, we're just going to say, okay, we'll try our darndest. He's pretty good.
Right next door, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, Ryan talked about the leadership that was missing last year. How much did you notice it, and what do you think of the progress?
I noticed it in February, my first workouts with my position, that I thought we were our attention to just, number one, us doing our job at a high level. We were doing it good, but I just felt earlier, some of the season, I think, went so late. We're back at it. You're back at it in your early workouts. transitioning from off of COVID to in COVID. You got to be here every day when they're used to that. And just initially, I think, we didn't do maybe as good a job as we needed to of getting our players in positions of setting the tone. I think Coach Day and Coach Mick tried very hard this year to not them set the tone. Like say, going into the bowl game, there wasn't a player meeting. I kept telling you guys we were practicing good. There wasn't some meeting about, look, here's what we got to do. I think the guys knew. We didn't have a lot of meetings about let's develop leadership. We just tried to put them in places and say, hey, you're in charge of these guys. So if they're not doing well, that's on you, and help them. And so I think Coach Mick and Coach Day did a nice job of putting those players in positions to teach them how to hold people to standards, how to communicate to them. We asked them to judge their group and grade their group certain times. So now I have an opinion of you. I didn't think you worked out very hard today. I thought you did a great job. I thought you were awesome. And not to take it personal, but be a leader, hold people accountable. Don't be a fake leader, be a real leader. And I think short term, it's off to a great start. We'll see, again, the proof is in the puddings when the bullets are flying, the games are going on, it's loud, and okay, we got to make a stop. We got to get a first down. We got to get a touchdown. We got to get a 2-minute drive. That's when you like to see all those things, not just so we got our toes behind the line for a drill. We're onside when it's 4th and 1 critical, and you can't hear at certain places we play. It's going to be really loud, and everybody can function. We can make a critical play, and we can win another championship.
And I want to ask you about Travion. He obviously made a huge splash in certain games, but later in the year the production wasn't as good, and most of it wasn't his fault probably. But what do you sense in him this year, and how much of a weapon do you expect him to be?
It's really good. I will say too, though, I really like, Mayan's always done pretty consistent. I think Evan Pryor's coming on, and there's going to be some good competition there too, which I think you always need more than one. I think with the volume of plays that we play at receiver, tight end, and running back, you need to be 2 pushing 3 deep, 2.5 to 3 deep to get through the season and get through key games, and not to milk out a game because you beat someone bad, but all of a sudden it's a critical game and you need a second or third guy that can play championship football. So I like the way the back room's running or looking through the workouts we just started. I don't think we'll know more until week 3, week 4 of how we start playing with pads on and their ability. Because staying on schedule sometimes is that 3-yard play is 5, and sometimes that's the running back. The ability to not look for the big play. I had a chance, my original coaching mentor was Randy Walker at Miami, and he was a tremendous running back. I saw Bobby Carpenter. He played with his dad, Rob, was his tailback, ran his fullback, and Randy always coached running backs, saying there's not a lot of dollar bills laid on the ground, but you can find some nickels. And you just take a nickel, take a nickel, take a nickel, you'll get your dollar. If you stick it and you stick it and you trust the read, the big plays will come. It's like baseball, there's a lot of singles. If you're looking for home runs, you're going to strike out a lot. So I think as a young player, you start looking to make big plays as a runner. If you just trust the read, trust your talent, and run, big plays will happen. I think the more he plays, the more you'll see big things out of him, Evan, and mine, and the whole crowd there.
Got time for just a few more behind Bill. Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Kevin, you said before the Rose Bowl that G. Scott still needs to get a little bigger, was still kind of growing into that tight end role. What kind of growth have you seen from him over the course of the winter going into spring?
It gotten into the 230s, which is good. Just watching some tape with the recruit I had here of practice day, even some of his fundamentals are in our best blocking positions. Still learning it. Did some really nice things today on the field. I think consistency, for him, do it again, because time on task. I think to be really good, sometimes it takes 2 years. He's getting ready to go into his second year at tight end, so I think he's still maybe a ways from, because again, I do think he has a pretty good ceiling now. He's not going to be a 255-pound kid, but I think we can get him to upper 230s, pushing 40. He can handle some of the blocking. He does have good receiving skill set. Good guy that we can play. Mitch Rossi, a tight end but a fullback, G, a tight end but a receiver spot, and move those guys around and let Coach Day and Coach Hartline come up with matchups as we put the pass game together. So a really good winner, not just because he gained weight, but really good winner. Looking for him to have a consistent spring, come back with the summer, consistent fall. He's going to be in the mix to be one of the 2 or 3 guys that should play a fair amount. He's off to a good start.
You mentioned coming up with plays, Coach. Coach Day, Coach Hartline. You guys have a passing game coordinator now, a run game coordinator. You're still here. Day's calling plays. Justin Fry used to be an offensive coordinator. Just what's it like in that offensive coaching room right now? All of you guys kind of drawing up plays and figuring out how this offense will operate.
Well, we're coordinated. No, it's.
No lack of coordination.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we got more than anything. I asked a couple of the young coaches, and they said it goes. It's just interesting to listen to everybody talk, because it's just what do you see? I mean, I always saw football is a little bit like if you're over in again, we got some things going over in that European area that's not of kind of struggling with some countries, but just when you go, you didn't travel far, but it was a different language where you see things differently. Well, football's like that. I see things differently than Justin, although we're similar because we kind of have line guys. Ryan sees things different than me. He's a quarterback. Hart sees things from a receiver perspective. Tony as a running back. And so Corey is a quarterback guy. And so today, like we're doing center quarterback, and I made a comment to Corey after we did center quarterback. I said, hey, make sure you get a check count in next time because the center needs to hear that just to help him. Because we all there's a lot of great communication. The key is, at the end, we're all on the same page. And here's what we want to try to emphasize and do. So we've always had a pretty good group. When I came here with Coach Day, we were charged with Coach Meyer to make sure our group was cohesive and work together. And we've been a very good offense the 5 years that me and Coach Day have been here. And I think our key is we've worked hard to work together and to figure out how things that we can block, things the quarterback can do, the routes we like, how to put together and score points. But we've always worked together. It's not been about your play, my play. It's what do we do? How do we do it? How do we work together? And our group right now is doing that as good as we've done. And we've done it, I think, very well for 5. I think we have great players. But I think our ability to work together, prepare together, put them in good the way we practice, the way we teach, has been very solid. And I think right now maybe it's as good as it's been. And I think it's just a credit to we got a bunch of titles and all those things, I guess. But at the end of the day, we got good coaches, and our job is to collectively work together to put a great product that our players and most importantly our fans deserve, and that's what we're doing.
Over here, front row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
If you talk a little bit about Gier, are there other guys at tight end you're looking at this Mitch being out?
Well, Joe's done well now. I think Joe's kind of on that verge of 2 years, and he's kind of knocking on the door. It's kind of nice to see if he can swing through, and between he and G are two kind of primary Y flex guys. Sam Hart, a little bit of a bigger guy that flexes, but more of an inline player, and then Bennett Christian that we signed early, and he had a little ankle injury right when he got here that he's now practicing, but he'll be full go after spring break. So those two guys will be like kind of the big guys. And then we got little Herb Street out there playing a little fullback with Patrick Gerd and with Mitch. We got a couple, 3 guys we call the H-back fullback. We got guys like G and Joe that can be H-back split out guys. And we got guys like Bennett and we got guys like Sam that are Y guys that we can flex out. So we got about 6. It'll be interesting. We'll play to the strength. I think last year's the best year since I've been here. We played to Mitch Rossi's strength. We played to Cade Stover's strengths. I think we'll keep doing that with these guys. But I think we need to go through some padded practice to see but the better, not because I coach them, I'm just telling you, the better the tight end position does, the greater the offense can be because we take stress off the O-line, we take stress off the run game, we take stress off the quarterback. And when we're not there and it's 4 wide and they know you're throwing, teeing off your rush, or they know the quarterback's got to run or RPO, you're much easier to defend. So as that tight end fullback position can be a quality high-end contributor, this offense has a really great chance. So we got inexperience at tight end right now, and they've had a nice winter, but they're going to need to have a great spring, great summer, and great preseason because I think as that group goes, we're really determined at the end. A lot of guys will get more credit, but their ability to do their job will make us complete or we'll knock on the door.
I wanted to ask about Jackson Smith as well. Ryan mentioned that like saw last year could play some slot, could play some outside. Where do you see him kind of moving forward in year 2 or 3?
Well, I mean, if you play 2 tight ends, but they got to be playing well because, you're taking Marvin off the field, you're taking Emek off the field, you're taking Julian off the field. So if you play 2 tight ends, that's a great chance to get him outside. That's all we've always done that when we went 12. Who's the next 2 guys? So that's always an easy way to get Jackson outside if we're playing 12. But we're going to play 12 when 12's good. If 12's not good, we're in 11. If 11's not good, we're in 10. The more we can get some 11 and 12, I think the better our team is. So that's a chance to get him. I think right now, we really like the way Jaden Ballard's come on. He's had a nice offseason. He's knocking on doors, starting to show flashes. We got some young players. I think we stay initially with Jackson inside. He played a couple plays today outside. It's not stressful for him mentally or physically to do. I think we just start there and see where it goes and trust Coach Hart and Coach Day. And if there's a lot of 12, you see him outside more. If there's not a lot of 12, he's probably inside most of the time. But there's been a lot of times, I don't know if you noticed this, but we'll take the inside player and just put him outside. And maybe we'll leave him, we'll motion him back in. I mean, those guys move around, and Hart teaches them basically concepts so they all can play multiple spots. It's not very hard.
And final question is the front row here, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
You were told Harry Miller's out for the spring, at least in terms of like actual practice reps. Do you still envision him competing in the preseason for a bigger role, and would that be any of the interior spots?
Yeah, he would be inside, and again, timeline and those things. Harry, to me, the difference between center and guard, center's got to handle the ball, maybe make a few calls, but his skill set and size fits those three spots. So, when he's back, whether it be the center spot or the guards. I think right now, Jacob James just came on at center. Toby Wilson's in there as well, but Matt Jones is probably still our second center, based on Fryer or Zen, some of these other guys, how they come along if we needed to play someone. So Matt Jones is starting guard, Luke's the starting center, Matt's probably our second center, although Jacob's had a great spring and advancing his way like he needs to do.
And Ryan also mentioned Evan Pryor, one of the guys who's next to the left, having a good spring. I guess what do you still need to see from him development-wise?
I'd say very much what we're talking about, consistency. Okay, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't even need it any better, just do it again. Just do it again. Just keep stacking up a day. Take those workout days, now do an inside drill. Okay, you just ran the cones and you just hit the weights. Now stick that inside zone play just like you're out here running around cones. Okay, now people are in the way. It's a play, but play with that confidence. So let's just see him play. And so had a tremendous offseason. He and Jaden Ballard for young guys had great off seasons. Jacob James, great off season. That's what young players need to do to become players that we need to help us out, and looking forward to see what those guys can do. So if he just will stay healthy, stay consistent, he's got a chance to have a nice big role with the offense this year.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Just to squeeze in real quick, do you think there's any chance Cade comes back in your room at all? Or do you figure he's gone?
Politically speaking, I'm not allowed to politically comment on it. That's the first time I've said that.
Talk about Ukraine and Russia, but you won't.
Well, we talked about it. I was trying to